Okay, so back to the challenges faced by the Irish fleet in terms of accession. So, what concerned Irish fishermen the most was that there would be large developed fleets in Irish waters. So, while there had been huge investment in the Irish fishing industry in the 1960s, it was still nowhere in comparison to what was happening on the continent. The Irish fleet was, if you look at point two there, severely underdeveloped. Denmark, for example, was smaller in terms of land mass, but had a more developed industry. Only 6,000 were employed in the industry as a whole, okay, full-time and part-time fishermen, as well as those involved in Bordees Camara, fish processing plants, etc. So it was a minority industry and easily forgotten, which was the fear of the fishermen as well. It's largely made up of small vessels that only fished close to shore, okay, so inshore fishing. So small vessels, perhaps one maybe family vessel or something like that. So accession of Spain and Portugal in 1986 also posed challenges after accession, and that's in relation to them fishing in Irish waters. So we're going to just look at a sector comparison here between the Irish fishing industry here and the agricultural industry here. So no, there were no plans to create a large industry and exploit Ireland's position as an island. There was a small fleet of fishing vessels that focused on inshore coastal areas. There was limited training and resources for fishermen. The development of harbours was slow compared to international development, and there were limited processing plants. In 1970, for example, Ireland only contributed to 2% of the EEC total, okay, and we looked at that as well before. So, and Irish people ate little fish. So, not that they ate small fish, they ate very few fish, just to clarify that. So, Ireland had the lowest consumption of the EEC per capita. And there are some ideas about why that is, because perhaps the industry was small, because of the Irish Catholic idea of fish for Fridays. So it was more of an ordeal than something to be enjoyed. Whereas on the Mediterranean, for example, fish was seen as something more enjoyable. And also, the consumption of fish, the low consumption of fish per capita was also linked to the agricultural industry, which was massive in comparison. It got much more attention. It was 1/5 of the income from the it got 1/5 of the income from the EEC, while the fisheries received less than 1%. It was more important in terms of employment. Exports for agricultural product far exceeded fishery product exports. A lot more people were, as we said already, employed in agriculture. It contributed a lot more to GDP. So there was a lot more focus on agriculture and therefore the consumption of agricultural products as opposed to fishing products. So the EEC accession negotiations began in the early 1970s. We have Jack Lynch as Taoiseach. Sean Lemass has resigned and been replaced by Jack Lynch. And Patrick Hillery was the Minister for Foreign Affairs. They were the two main negotiators for the Irish Accession Treaty. Ireland, Britain and Denmark joined at the same time. And some of the results of the negotiations were that there will be a 12-mile limit around coastal areas for Irish vessels only, the north and west for all fish, and in the east coast for all fish and for shellfish as well. So to preserve Irish fishing industry and to give the fishing industry a chance to develop.